Hey Nicole, Michelle here. I wanted to give you some feedback on your diversity story. Very nice, comprehensive story, well done, well reported. So kudos on that. We're looking at the back end because I wanted to show you some things I changed a little bit. Um, so in the headline, I think it's always good if you can say like UNL or Lincoln so you can kind of place it, especially since everything's online. And it could be in the University of Texas or something. So I added UNL. Um, let's see. Okay, so here's an example. I think I talked about this in class. It's always going to be he said, she said, Gully said, blah, blah, blah. Except in this situation, because he's got this, you're introducing him for the first time and you're saying what his title is. The said kind of gets lost. So this is a time where you say, said Derek Gully, the founder. Actually the subheads are lowercase. Okay, so it says he said LGBT, and I changed that to LGBTQA since that's kind of what we were going with all the way through. Um, he said LGBT students in particular have some specific obstacles facing them. That's, I think, a sentence that kind of needs a little bit of help. Why don't we just say LGBTQA students are facing specific obstacles, Gully said. Short and concise, direct. Okay, I wanted to kind of tell you what I was doing here. So they're facing obstacles, and you name three. I don't think we need to say the first, the second, the third. That implies there's somewhat of an order, which there really isn't. So I just said things like LGBTQA students are facing specific obstacles. One is that students aren't automatically connected. And then I say another, and then an even tougher challenge. So we're doing the transitions that way rather than first, second, third, because that's not really appropriate to this. Okay, he said a lot of other mentor programs have an automatic connection to students, especially with learning communities and honors programs. I think a better way to say that is students are automatically connected with other mentors. I should say mentor programs, citing the learning communities and honors programs. Okay, so there's that. I don't really think you need to have this other in there. There's been students where I literally just handed them the application. This always kind of bothers me when we're inserting words when we don't need to. And if you do insert it, it should be parentheses, not brackets. I always try to use the generic form of the person in direct quotes, so you kind of don't stumble over their name, because you want to be dealing more with the direct quote, have the emphasis. You kind of said this already, and went with a full year program, so that kind of repeats that, so I didn't think you really needed to say that again. And then here, so if you take out if you don't look at the subhead, which you really shouldn't, it shouldn't be a crux for the story standing alone. you go from this paragraph to this. And I think a better way would be to say the program has come a long way since its inception. Because here you're talking about how it used to be. And I just think this is a kind of a better way to say some of this. The program originally focused on having upperclassmen attend rather than the program was originally about. Just some little minor things, honestly. That just make it overall a little bit easier to read. But yeah, no, this was a good story. I liked the approach you took, and I liked the fact that the video kind of focused on the mentees or participants. The problem was the audio again, and I feel bad. I thought we kind of fixed that. It's still not high enough. I can't really understand, and I think part of the problem too is it is in spots. So I'm happy to work with you if you would like the video published to kind of fix that. We can sit down and look at this again. Here is my thought on the video. Let's kind of watch it. Aside from the audio, let me kind of walk you through this. I think the way you start it, we really don't even need that. And it kind of jumps around, so you get her first name, her first name, and what she does.
A little complicated. I'm in my third year.
Okay, and then we go back to her. So I thought that was a little awkward. I would either put them all together, like my name is such and such, and I am a first year, or I would just, you could just not even, you could start with this quote.
It helped me find out how to do things for myself, because I have to know how to do things to help other people.
And I would have let her say that. The other thing is I think you need to be a lot closer. You want to kind of be at the shoulders. That's kind of filling the frame. So shooting, it's kind of far away. But I want to hear her say that. I wouldn't have put this B-roll here. It's kind of actually distracting. So let her just talk.
Find out how to do things for myself, because I have to know how to do things to help other people. So
and I would have just let her do the whole thing. Say the whole thing before I did B-roll. Okay, so I would let her say the whole thing.
So my biggest thing is it's means to speak.
I think I would have started this a little bit differently, and I would have started with some shots of them, the three of them chatting, so you can see maybe 1, 2, 3, and then maybe I'd have like a slide that said peer mentees talk about how the program has helped them, and then you can start with her.
My name's Honey.
Where she says it, because otherwise you don't really know what she's talking about.
I'm in my third year. It helped me find out how to do things for myself because I have to know how to do things to help other people.
Okay, then you could probably do some B-roll of that, maybe show her chatting with the others, like that one. Um, and I'd let that cover
Being able
that.
to connect to people in a different way.
Oops.
It helped me find out how to do
And then
things
I'd
for
switch
myself.
to the other woman, but I would actually then focus on her, what she's saying, and then cut away from some B-roll. And that's where I just really can't hear her, understand her. Um,
So
okay, that would be okay to do that. Maybe you had a couple of other shots of B-roll. Okay, so that's been beneficial. And then I would switch to this woman, can't remember her name.
so I think the biggest thing is it's means for communication and connection. You know, like
And I would want to see her there because it's hard to understand her, and so we could at least do some lip syncing, lip reading.
being able to connect to people in a different way, easier way, especially when you're like a transfer or your first year and to be able to say.
Okay, here's where this is hard because you've got B-roll of her talking, but it's not jibing with what she's saying. So I think that might not work as B-roll, unfortunately.
So not only resources,
Because you want it to sync up because you know that's her. And I would maybe go back to her face there instead.
that although are available, sometimes you're either too scared or maybe you don't exactly know where to go. And it gives you that sort of that lifeline. And someone who you could easily reach out and say like, "Hey, I'm not so sure," and
That's
know that
nice.
there's someone there to help you, whether it's something for school or something personal. Like I learned from my mentee.
Okay, here's another one again. This I would go back to her because you don't want her talking when it's somebody else talking and it's not jibing.
So it's like a win-win situation.
Yeah, and then I think you're done. Um, you know, some close-up shots like of the posters or of her working close, you know, at her computer. Those would have been nice. Hands, you know, face, close-up of face. Um, those could have helped you get out of some of those binds. The main thing is the audio. So let's see if we can't get that brought up. I wouldn't expect you to do to do all of the editing changes I made, but that's what I would do to make this video better. And I'm happy to sit down with you if it's not really clear. But I would say get closer to the person. Um, uh, think about, you know, when to put the B-roll over, you know, and
Tiny, Miss Anna Wyrick.
you know, I don't think, like I said, I don't think you need that. Um, and just watch when somebody's talking in the B-roll that you don't have. That's probably not the best, going to be the best B-roll in that situation. Okay. Um, good job on the story. Looks like you have everything else. Oh, she's a mentor. That's not really clear to me. So did you say that in the...
My name's Honey.
Okay, yeah, that's in the, okay, good. Um, yeah, and you could use those if you know, those would be helpful. Um, it is sort of kind of redundant to have somebody introduce themselves and have the lower thirds. And that's why I'm not really a big fan of having people introduce themselves on a video unless there's some really good reason. So I would just start with their discussions, like mentor and mentee talk about what the program has meant to them, something like that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if not. And like I said, I'm happy to help you figure out the audio.